All right, let's talk about one of the most fundamental challenges in all of tech. How do we store our data? It sounds simple, but it's not. We're going to break down the three big players in the storage game: block, file, and object, to really understand what they are, what they're good at, and most importantly, how you pick the right one for the job.
So, to make this real, let's start with a problem you'd actually face. Imagine you're building a new web app. It needs a database that's got to be super fast, a place to store all the photos and videos your users upload, and a shared spot for configuration files. Now, you might be thinking, why can't I just pick one type of storage for everything? Keep it simple. Well, the reason is you can't be a world-class sprinter, a meticulous librarian, and a massive warehouse manager all at the same time. Different jobs demand completely different tools.
So let's meet our first tool. I want you to think of block storage as the sprinter of the storage world. It is built for one thing and one thing only: pure, raw speed.
At its core, block storage is incredibly direct. It takes your data, whatever it is, and just chops it up into these fixed-sized chunks we call blocks. It has no idea what's in those blocks. It doesn't see files or folders. To your computer's operating system, it just looks like a completely blank, raw, high-performance hard drive ready and waiting for instructions.
So, what does that get you? Well, first, because it's so simple, you get extremely low latency. That's the tiny delay between asking for data and actually getting it. Second, you get very high IOPS, which stands for input/output operations per second. Just think of that as how many tiny little tasks, like reading or writing a small bit of data, it can juggle at once. But here's the catch. You can't just drag and drop files onto it. You have to put a file system on top of it first to actually create that structure of files and folders we're all used to.
Okay, so let's plug this back into our app. Where does our Sprinter fit in? It is the high-performance engine powering our database. See, a database is constantly doing thousands of tiny, rapid reads and writes every single second. That is exactly what block storage was born to do: provide that raw horsepower for intense transactional work.
All right, on to our second tool. If block storage is the sprinter, then file storage is the incredibly organized, meticulous librarian. Its entire reason for being is organization and making things easy for people to find.
You already know this one inside and out because it's exactly how your own computer works. It organizes everything into files, which live inside folders, which can be nested inside, well, other folders. This whole system, this hierarchy with paths like C drives/users/documents, is totally intuitive because we use it every day.
And its biggest strength? Collaboration. Because the structure is so clear, it's really simple to share files and folders over a network. You can set up permissions for different users, who gets to read what, who gets to write what. It's built from the ground up for teams of people and different applications to work together on the same set of data.
So in our app, file storage becomes that central library. It is the perfect place for things like shared configuration files that all the different pieces of our app need to read from. Or, for internal documents that our team of developers needs to access and manage together.
And that brings us to the final tool in our kit: object storage. So if block is the sprinter and file is the librarian, then object storage is the impossibly huge, fully automated warehouse.
Object storage completely throws the whole idea of folders out the window. Instead, everything is an object, floating in one massive, flat pool of data. Your photo, your video, your backup, it all gets bundled into a single package with the data itself, some extra descriptive info called metadata, and a completely unique ID number. There are no folders, no hierarchy. To get your data, you just ask for it by its unique ID, usually with a simple web request. And this is why object storage is literally the backbone of the modern cloud. Because it's just a flat pool of objects, it can scale almost infinitely. You can add all sorts of custom metadata. Think of it like detailed labels on a package that makes everything searchable. And maybe most importantly, it's designed to be incredibly durable and super cost-effective, which is absolutely critical when you start storing not just gigabytes, but petabytes of data. So for our app, this is the perfect home for all of that user-generated content. Every single photo, every video, every backup file becomes its own object in this giant digital warehouse. It's cheap, it can handle wild, unpredictable growth, and it makes sure that our users' precious data is kept incredibly safe. Okay, so we've met our three specialists: the sprinter, the librarian, and the warehouse. We know their core strengths. Block is all about performance, file is for collaboration and structure, and object is built for massive scale. Now we get to the most important part. How do we actually choose the right tool for the right job?
It really all boils down to this fundamental trade-off. On one end of the spectrum, you've got block storage. It's optimized for pure face-melting speed, the lowest latency possible. And on the complete opposite end, you have object storage, which is built for massive, almost infinite scale. And our librarian, file storage, it lives right there in the middle, trying to give us a nice balance of structure and accessibility.
This table right here is your cheat sheet. Let's just quickly walk through it. First up, access. Block is that raw operating system level access. File is the familiar paths and folders you know and love, and object is all done over the web with APIs. Next, latency. We've got very low for our Sprinter, medium for our librarian, and a bit higher for our warehouse. And then the big one, scale. Block is pretty limited, file can handle a medium amount, and object is just massive. And all of that points you right to the best use cases at the very bottom. Databases and VMs for block, shared drives for file, and all that cloud data like backups and media for object.
So here's how you can decide, in 3 simple questions. First, ask yourself, do I need the absolute best performance? Is every microsecond critical? If you're running a database, the answer is yes, and you need block storage. Second question, do I need a shared, familiar structure that people can easily work with? If it's for team collaboration or a content management system, then file storage is your answer. And finally, question 3, do I need to plan for massive scale? If you're storing huge amounts of data and need it to be cheap and safe, you're going with object storage. It's that simple.
And that brings us right back to where we started, with our app. The key takeaway here is that it was never about picking one winner. A truly robust, modern application isn't built on a single type of storage. It's a smart, sophisticated blend of all 3. It uses block for its database engine, file for its shared configuration library, and object for its massive warehouse of user media. They aren't competing against each other, they're working together as a team.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a final thought. This whole balancing act between speed, structure, and scale has defined the entire history of data storage. But as we move into an era where we're generating more data than ever before, which one of those do you think will be the most critical? Which trade-off is going to define the next generation of our digital world?